About a month ago, I got this message when opening World of Warcraft. Apparently something had gone wrong with my subscription payment, which didn't surprise me, and the game proposed that I spend gold to pay instead, which did surprise me. 354,000 gold, not actually that much. Now, I've never been able to learn how to earn big on the crafting professions, nor have I had the capacity to figure out how to play the auction house. And don't even get me started on the skills needed to sell raid or mythic plus runs. So why am I still saying 1/3 gold seems attainable? Well, it's kind of one weird trick that works even now, the worst time to put it into practice. You see, I've been putting gold aside over time this newest expansion, and seeing a potential use for that gold made me sit down and do the math on whether it would be reasonably attainable month after month by running one of my chill activities. Call to arms, heroic dungeons, and looking for raid queues. You might not be aware of what those are, so let's have a quick breakdown before talking strategy and optimization. At its core, the call to arms system is a way to reward new players for filling in roles that are needed to actually fill groups in the dungeon finder system. If no tanks are showing up for a while, the queue will put up a little coin to let everyone know that if you join and check the tank box, you will receive a reward at the end of the dungeon or raid wing. This rewards a crystal satchel of cooperation, which contains about 1,000 gold, as well as 1 to 4 augment runes of the current version. These runes are worth an additional 965 gold, which means each dungeon on average will give you about 3,000 gold right now. And let me mention, I'm making this video just before patch 11.2 comes out, where we have already confirmed a new type of augment rune is being introduced. This means the current runes will likely become irrelevant soon, and the new rune will be much more expensive. Just a month ago, when I got the idea for this video, the price for these augment runes was 1,600 gold, and usually as a new augment rune comes out, the price can be between 2,000 and 2,300 gold. Why? Because raiders that strive for every advantage want them. They need 1 rune per hour to get fully optimized and are willing to pay for that minor advantage. This means that there are times just after new expansions drop that you will get an average of 5,000 gold per dungeon completed. A dungeon takes anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes depending on the group and the dungeon. The same goes for a raid wing, with end wings like gallewags that only contain 1 boss and basically no trash, finishing even faster. That's upwards of 20 to 30k gold an hour in good times, or 12 to 15k gold an hour at the worst times, like now, when a new patch looms and promises a new set of augment runes. Remember my goal from the start of the video? 354,000 gold, divided by the 30,000 gold an hour that only takes 11.8 hours to get, while divided by the less impressive 12,000 gold an hour, it would take 29.5 hours instead. After doing these calculations, I felt pretty safe in assuming that I could make a monthly sub with just this one weird trick. After all, 30 hours a month means just a single hour of playtime a day, assuming that I can run 4 dungeons in an hour with call to action and queues included. So I set about testing this theory over the last 30 days. I mostly played my druid and found that it worked out pretty well for me. I'm in the lucky position of being able to shuffle my daily playtime around a bit, so if I logged in and no dungeons were sending out a call, I'd log out and try later. But most of the time there would be some role in need, either in heroic queue or LFR, and my druid can fill all of them. It also helps that we are able to queue for both the heroic dungeons as well as the raid wing separately on the occasions where each of them are calling to action. Over the last month, I found that queue stacking is rather powerful in helping to keep the time between action down. Of course, this in and of itself has problems, and I sought to optimize any downtime during queues. Before talking about that, however, I'd like to assure you that while the call to arms are most frequently open for healers and tanks, a surprising amount of times over the last month, it was DPS that the system wanted. Still, there are 2 factors I found that'll help you to get the most calls. The first factor is that the calls are server-based. If you have multiple max level characters and they are not all on the same server, you can switch around to quickly find a server with an ongoing call to arms. The other factor is, of course, that the more roles you can fill, the bigger the chance of your arms being called for. Knowing the WoW player base, let me assure you, you might not think yourself capable of healing and tanking, but in heroic dungeons after the 0.1 patch of an expansion, it wouldn't even matter if you never had aggro, most groups will blast. In fact, while you should figure out a build and rotation, and I'll leave a link to Wowhead for that purpose down below, you can tank by simply spamming the AoE ability. Thrash for Druid, Blessed Hammer and Avenger's Shield for Paladin, Infernal Strike and Sigil of Flame for Demon Hunter, Blood Boil for DK, and Thunderclap and Revenge for Warrior. I'm not doing that kind of breakdown for healer, but luckily I don't need to. Target tank, press buttons WoW automatically put on your bar. If you see another member's health go down, press their health bar and then keep pressing buttons. Very little mana management or cooldown use is needed as a healer in this content after a 0.1 patch. In LFR there are a couple of extra mechanics to be aware of, such as stacking debuff requiring tank switching, I didn't always feel comfortable picking tank, so in the wings I didn't fully trust myself. I simply signed up only as a healer and DPS and let that be good enough. Gallywix requires nothing special from the tank though. You're basically just a less efficient DPS that entire fight. A completely secondary reward that I've been enjoying as a completionist is that this approach makes sure that I go through the full looking for raid each month, which gets me the raid reputation and all the rewards that come with that. I'm getting close to maxing that out now. It's not exactly the point of the video, but it makes me happy, just as it would if you would heed my call to arms and practice your tanking abilities on my subscribe button. For now, let's talk about the times where you queue up and the queue takes forever. One time, my entire hour went by in a queue, which felt really bad. This made me want to optimize and find something else to work on while stuck in the queue. I had a couple of requirements for the activities I was looking for. First, they need to be simple. I don't want to learn to manipulate the auction house just to make my sub. And secondly, they need to be activities that I can put down and pick up again, since I don't know when my queue will pop. I found two activities that I really enjoy using to fill up the queue. These are both high value, which means I don't feel like I've wasted the hour even when the queue doesn't pop. The most obvious activity is gathering. There's always a decent amount of cash to get from that while being very straightforward. This expansion I've especially liked doing skinning because there's a plethora of skinnable rare mobs and the system allows me to skin them once each day for guaranteed drops of rare hides. I picked up on this quite early in the expansion, which means I was already sitting on my Alunira when it came out that rare mobs had a higher chance of dropping her shards. So this is an additional reward you'll get from the Casalgar part of skinning rares daily. I will quickly go over my route and my reasonings before moving on to the second activity, as well as whether I found the experience of grinding my subscription to gold worth it. The video has timestamps in case you want to skip the route. Starting in Dornagal, I go north to grab Warphorn and preferably 3 random Shale Horns at the same time. My Sharpen Your Knife skill has 3 charges at this point, and I want to use it on Shale Horns since they can also drop honed bone shards, which is the most valuable of the bonus skinnables. I then go south to Plagueheart. This rare is an actual rare spawn and might not be up every time. From here I go further south to Bloodmoor. These 3 rares are the ones on this route that can drop Alunira. The additional mobs you kill near Shalehorn and Bloodmoor can as well of course, but more rarely. From here I fly back to Dornagal and down through the Coreway and south to Kill King Splash. From here I head further south, since I have the skinning specializations I'll get into at the end, to put out a Supreme Beast lure and kill that for another payout. Moving north, I check if Silthara has spawned by this pool. This is the mob most often missing from the route. Further north, I check on the Terror of the Forge in the lava pool here, before moving through to Hallowfall. The first mob here is on this overhang and is called Pride of Belladar during the light or Wrath of Belladar during the shadow. While they have different names, they share a loot table and can only be skinned once. Moving northeast to this spot in the water, I kill Murkshade before moving to the rock shelf overlooking the world boss for the Purge Father. Then just west we have the Strength of Belladar, and flying past the Nightfall location, we arrive at our last prey in Hallowfall, Litfang the Lost. From here it's just a short flight into Ashkahet for the last few trophies of our trip. First up, there's the Abyssal Devourer here in the Lightless Channels, and then we finish up with Chachak here. As you might have noticed, I skipped a bunch of rares that drop Carapace, because that sells for significantly less, and thus I find not worth my time stopping for. Chachak made it because it drops honed bone shards, and I do want a bit of Carapace for whenever the weekly training quests requires that. And I do want to keep on top of my skilling knowledge. If I was just starting out, I would get the first 10 points into luring to unlock Trained Tracker, and then 40 points into that to be able to lure out the Supreme Beast. Then I would unlock Harvesting and get 10 points in Harvester to unlock the Trophy Taker and max that for as big a chance as possible of getting additional honed bone shards. Then I'd move over to Tanning and get 10 points in Tanner to unlock Luxurious Leathers and put 40 points in that to get as many and as nice leathers as possible. Then I'd go back to Harvesting and max out Harvesting and go into Meat Carver, simply to get as much perception as possible. From there, probably anything but the fishing lures and the Carapace. I'd save those trees for last. A shame that Carapace is worthless, but that's just economics. This round gives me about 6 to 7,000 gold of value each day, even though it's late into the expansion. At the beginning of an expansion, making routes like this is one of the most valuable things you can do to earn gold. The second thing I like to do is simply world quests and activities. Spreading the light in Hallowfall, weekly pact in Ashkahet, check if anyone is randomly doing a world boss. The gold giving world quests give about 800 gold, which is okay, and all of these activities give rep for my achievements, and once I'm full on rep, some pretty nice loot boxes every additional 7500 rep. This isn't extreme gold making, but it's nice and simple, and you save the progress in world quests between queue pops. nice and orderly. You might even be the sort that wants to spend some time grinding for old achievements. Since the queues can continue no matter where you are, as long as you're not in a group, you can freely farm your Taliesin mount, your Bloodsail Admiral title. In fact, you can get an add-on called Call to Arms Tracker, which will alert you with a loud noise when you're able to register for a call to arms, allowing you to naturally lean into signing up whenever it just happens in your daily playtime. With all of that, I ended my 30 days back where I started. I did reach my goal as I had about 750k on my grid before hitting the resub button, and well, I didn't actually get any video of that the first time. This video took form in my head as I figured out how to try to get enough gold for the resub, which means the footage you're seeing right now is from the resub I just did this week, where I'm happy with the result of getting enough gold together to do another sub payment. This got me thinking though, this is not actually the most efficient way to pay my sub with gold. 1 month at a time requires 12 months of payment a year, and they price it for the WoW tokens. Instead of buying my sub as it runs out month after month, I could convert my gold into WoW store cash by buying WoW tokens on the auction house and using those to add money to my Blizzard balance. This way, if I can save up for 10 months or about 3.6 million gold, I'll be able to open the shop, find the 12-month subscription offer, which only costs the equivalent of 10 months of game time, and then buy that. I'd get my entire year's subscription as well as the cosmetic loot. This also allows me to spend gold to buy anything else in the cash shop, of course. But will it be worth it to do so? Should I take on the challenge of paying an entire year of my WoW subscription through Call to Arms dungeon crawling? Let's assume I try this, and I do it at the beginning of an expansion, which means I grind for 118 hours the very first weeks at 30k gold an hour. This would allow me to pay my entire subscription for the coming year. I'll have made 978 kroner. Oh, sorry, let me translate that. I'll have made 131 euros or $152 worth of gold. That gives me an average hourly salary of 131 euros divided by 118 hours, equaling 1.1 euro an hour. That's, well, Danish minimum wage is usually around 130 kroner or about 17 euros. It seems finding a job or even just mowing the neighbor's lawn would be a more efficient way to pay my sub in pure hours put in. However, on the flip side, I think there's a real thrill that comes from being able to win the game economy and pay for my sub with only playtime. Adding to that, I really do find it a great way to chill. I can grab a couple of heroic dungeons while watching Taliesin rant about Salatat's feet on my second monitor. So when I don't have any important storying to do between patches and on the days I'm not pushing Mythic Plus with my friends, I honestly think it's a worthwhile goal to have. In fact, I'm going to make this attempt and keep you updated with my findings on what is efficient month after month. I'll pay a 12-month sub in real money now, and then I'll attempt to get about 355,000 gold each month, with the goal of having 4.26 million gold in a year, and only having to pay 3.55 million gold of that in the next year's subscription. Of course, prices fluctuate on the tokens. Maybe I'll have to buy them along the way to get the best prices. Either way, I'll post monthly updates on how this experiment is progressing and how long it's taking me to reach my goals monthly. I'll probably also do other World of Warcraft videos at some point, but I'm currently otherwise focused on a gold making series on Guild Wars. You might want to check that out by watching the video on the left right now, or listen to YouTube and watch the next video they think you'll like on the right. See you over there.